where I was the difficult person without even realizing. Yes. I was very tired at this point, okay? It was hello, beautiful people. Thank you for jumping onto my channel. Welcome back to all of my beautiful subscribers. I've got two scenarios, I guess. I've got two examples of where I've been in an environment where I have needed to improve on my people skills, that's for sure. And I've also been in environments where other people haven't really illustrated the best people skills to me, and it's been really awkward and uncomfortable. As a freelance project manager, you have to remember as well that you may be more likely to be in these kind of situations because you are constantly working in different teams, you're working with different people, and you're moving around a bit more regularly. So, you're at one contract for, maybe 3 months, another for 6 months, another for, it could be a couple of weeks to fill in someone's holiday gap if you take those kind of contracts, which I don't. Personally, I have found as a freelance project manager, and I've been freelancing for 7 years now, I think, that I am in these kind of situations quite regularly where I'm dealing with difficult people, but I have also had to learn along my way how to illustrate effective people skills myself. So I'm going to share a quick definition of what people skills is referring to. People skills mean the ability to work with or talk to other people in an effective and friendly way. So for someone that doesn't have great people skills, I would say these types of people may be quite abrasive. They might be quite short in how they speak. They might be quite short-tempered. You discern a kind of vibe from them, the way they communicate quite rudely. This could be in a group setting, in a group meeting. This could be, one-to-one. This could also be in an email. It could be in a Slack group. It could be in many different ways where you are dealing with somebody who doesn't illustrate the best people skills. So how do you deal with these kind of people? Like how does one move forward when, you're in an environment and it's really awkward, you're feeling away, you're feeling uncomfortable, you're feeling like you don't want to go to work because it's bothering you, it's affecting your spirit, you're feeling down, you're feeling like, okay, I don't want to leave this meeting because this person's going to keep on nitpicking or challenging me and so forth. So I want to give you an example of a situation that I was in, first of all, where I had to deal with someone very difficult. I'll also give you an example of when I was being quite difficult without even realizing it. I was leading a meeting. It was a kickoff meeting where I was going through timelines for this particular project. So the project, it was quite a strict timeline. There were multiple deliverables. I had to go through the timeline in addition to everything else I went through just to make sure that everybody was clear on the timings and that they were okay with it. And essentially it was a time for them to feedback anything, if it's too tight for them. I was working alongside within this project, one graphic designer, one senior creative, and one freelance illustrator. The senior creative and the freelance illustrator were absolutely fine with the timeline. There were no issues, but one of the team members felt that it was way too pressurizing. They felt that the other team members were pressured, but they weren't saying anything. He had a real problem with the timeline. Just from a perspective of feeling too pressured to deliver, I did explain that there wasn't much flexibility with the deadline, but I could be flexible with the timing, it's not a problem. The situation kind of escalated and became a little bit awkward because the graphic designer was suggesting that everybody felt pressurized, but nobody was saying anything, and he was just only speaking up out of the concern for the other people. So so that was the situation. In the end, how I dealt with the timeline issue was that the other guys were happy, so I left there for their deliverables, I left the timings the same, and for this particular person's deliverables, I allowed him the flexibility to deliver within his timings, however making sure that you meet the overall deadline for your deliverable. It was fine in the end because he was able to meet all of his timings. In the end, I think he got his stuff done early, that he was able to help the other freelance illustrator. The point is in this situation that although he addressed it in a way where he was supposed to address it in a meeting environment, address any concerns, the situation was more, he spoke on behalf of the other team members where they weren't feeling the same way. And in that situation, it may have been better if he spoke to me personally, if he was concerned about pressurizing the team, if he felt that I was pressurizing the team, because the team obviously weren't pressured. They didn't feel pressured at all. After that meeting, him, I did speak to my line manager about it because I wanted to be accountable. I wanted to make sure that my timelines weren't pressurizing. I wanted to make sure that, okay, look, can you just check to make sure that I'm giving the team enough time to deliver their parts of the project? They confirmed that the timings were fine. I was in a meeting with his line manager as well, and I wanted to make sure that I was being accountable, and that, you know, if there's something that I need to learn, that I'm able to learn it and adapt quite quickly, because it's freelance, it's fast paced. But in the end, I found out that it was more a case of the graphic designer not wanting to work towards timings. And granted, some companies are like that, because I have gone back to the company, they have their own timings, which I love that completely. But when you're dealing with bigger projects, bigger campaigns with multiple deliverables, it is important to stick to timings. It's part of your role as a project manager to make sure that things are getting met, deliverables being hit, you know, deadlines are being hit on time, and so forth. In the end, once his manager had a conversation with him, he did apologize to me. I did say it's fine, you know, I'm happy that we can, you know, we solved the problem basically, and that everyone is happy with the timings. You know, he got his flexible timeline, and, you know, sometimes, like I said before, some companies are like that, where the team have their own flexibility and work towards their own autonomy. One of the things I learned in that situation, which I want to share with you guys, is to make sure that you're holding yourself accountable. As a freelance project manager, if you're in these kind of situations, make sure that you are speaking to someone else about it. So sometimes as freelancers, you don't necessarily have one-to-one meetings with a line manager as a permanent project manager may do, or a permanent employee in general. Make sure that you are getting those one-to-one meetings in with your line manager, so that you can make sure that anything that happens that's unexpected, that you are making sure that you are speaking to someone else about it. Remember, you were there for a set period, you're not permanent, so just make sure you're being accountable and you're communicating, owning up to things that you may do wrong as well. Which brings me on to my next point, where I was the difficult person without even realizing. Yes, I was very tired at this point, okay? It was a 6-month contract, I think it was, and I was just quite tired, and I was getting a little bit fed up. I was looking forward to the contract coming to an end. Look guys, I am human, okay? I get tired. And one of my videos, I do talk about making sure that as a freelancer, you are getting the adequate time off that you need. I mean, like I said in that video, mental health is so important. Like, you need to make sure that you are in a good place as well, because you can get so wrapped up in, I gotta make money, my day rate, Like, that's how I was at one point, like really just consumed with, okay, I got to do my 5 days a week. You know, if you lose a day, you lose hundreds essentially. Yes, so I did go through a season where I was getting quite too wrapped up in the money, way too wrapped up in the money, and not looking after myself and my mental health. I was in a team meeting with my line manager and another PM, and we were discussing budgets. I was just a bit short. I didn't even realize that I was short, and that I was even coming across short. Because sometimes you might feel frustrated, but you don't show it. You don't show that you're annoyed. You just, you kind of stay humble. You kind of just take a deep breath. You stay patient, and you just deal with the situation. But in this situation, I kind of showed my frustration without even realizing I was showing it. And a few days later, in my one-to-one meeting, my line manager did pull me up and said, she followed up and she said, "Are you okay? I feel like you're a bit snappy. You was a bit snappy in that meeting." And I was just like, I was really embarrassed. I was like, really? I had no idea. I am so sorry. When I went back to that contract, I then realized that I need to be aware of that part of me. If I'm not getting rest, if I'm not taking time off, that I can be quite snappy. To summarize how to deal with these situations, I would give 3 pointers. First pointer, I was told, kill them with kindness. I go through this as a freelancer, but as a permanent employee, as a permanent project manager, you may be going through this with a particular person on a regular basis. Drop them a gift as in a chocolate. You know, these little things, as a kind of team culture, usually, in the office, someone brings some snacks, the team get excited. Thank you. So drop a little snack, drop a little, chocolate, sweeties, or whatever, donut. You know how, when you're sitting down, you like a little donut, a little sweet treat with your tea. Just keep it simple, but try not to take it personal initially. It's different if it's, quite toxic and it's continuous, which brings me on to my next point. If it is quite toxic, quite continuous, you're noticing that it's a trait with this person that is quite disruptive and it's getting the team down, then go and speak to your line manager. As I said, if you're free freelancer, make sure you've got those one-to-one meetings with your line manager in the diary, because sometimes you can get so wrapped up in a day-to-day, especially if your line manager isn't one that is a micromanager, which is great, by the way, and they're not contacting you, you're just left to get on with the projects that you're working on. And make sure you get those one-to-one meetings in the diary with them. My third and final tip is to remember that these situations are often seasonal. They are not long-term. They are not situations that you are going to be in forever. So if you do find that the situations are consistently happening with a particular person, and it's really affecting your spirit, it's affecting how you work, it's affecting your personality, you know, you're going to work and you're feeling sad. Like, I've seen some people cry in the toilet. If you're feeling a certain way and it's really affecting you because of the people that you're around, you know, if it's one person, multiple people, but it's consistent, look for a new job. Like, don't feel like you have to stay in the same role. If you're a contractor, a freelancer, thankfully it is something that is going to be quite short term, so it's always something that you can learn from. Like, and at the end of it, just value yourself, know your worth. These kind of situations are really getting you down, then just know that there are other options, and you don't have to stick in an environment where there are toxic people, you know, especially if there's nothing being done. I hope that helped. If it did, give the video a thumbs up, drop me a comment. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye.